So my name is Dr. Brent. I guess my name is Brent Fessler. I do have a doctorate in education and learning and organizational change is what my doctorate is in, and my dissertation research is in adult character formation. Now, that's not what I'm going to talk about today, but that's just a little bit about me. I'm also a musician and father of four, and all these things like come into my life, being an adoptive parent, being a parent in general, being a musician, being an engineer in my undergrad days, being an educator, focusing on adult character formation. Those are all pieces of who I am, and you'll see maybe some of those come out at times. But I want to talk to you about startup and small business vitals. This is Vital Connect is a program that I've been a part of and helped develop really out of necessity. And so I want to share with you a little bit of some keys for if you're starting up a business, if you're part of a small business that's trying to transform. I want to talk to you about some of the essentials that can be part of that. Well, should be part of that. So VITAL is an acronym, and I'll tell you just really quick before we jump into this. Vital Connect is a peer group for entrepreneurs or those who are running a small business or doing a startup. And you'll see why that's an important thing, and I'll call it even an essential thing. So the acronym that we'll just jump right through describes what VITAL is all about. And so the V is for vision. And why is vision important? And we've got some visual artists here today that are going to share, Greg's going to share about some visual art. But why is vision important? I think we know this, that vision, you can imagine your day without vision. Right, if you had your sight, did not have your sight for the day, what that would mean. How do you know where you're going? It's you see where you're going. In general, when you're running a race, you're looking at the goal. You've probably run this experiment if you're driving and you look over to the side, where does your car tend to go? It tends to go where you're looking. And so our vision is really important. Just from a practical standpoint, having a strategic vision for your startup it sounds like it's a understood thing, but it is an essential thing to take control of. Vision doesn't just happen. We have to be intentional when we are launching something and putting energy into launching a business. Very rarely does something just happen where, I just kind of stumbled into this very successful business, right? You never hear that kind of a testimonial about what made your business successful. Well, I just stumbled into it. There's even if we stumble into an opportunity, there does take this intentionality and vision. This is what I want it to be. This is what I want it to look like. And so strategic vision is that thing where we are looking out, in this case, looking out 3 years. You want this long-term horizon of where you're looking at for your business. I want to look out 3 years. Now, that said, the vision that we have is something that 3 years out here, whether it be for our life, you can think about this for your life, by the way, because your life is a small business. If I'm looking out 3 years, it's pretty much guaranteed that is not what my business or life is going to look like in 3 years. So what's the point in having a vision that looks out 3 years? We need that vision out there. You probably have that in your art often has a vision of what you want it to look like. It usually doesn't turn out quite the way you started to imagine it. But you need still that perspective if I'm looking out on that kind of a horizon. What do I want this thing to look like in 3 years? Because so often in something like business or life, it takes a long time to prepare for something that you need. Let's say you need to go get some new training. I need some new expertise. Well, man, I can't just turn that on. Or I guess I can look to AI, but AI is only going to get you so far. All right, so we have to go prepare for this. I'm gonna run a race. I want to be the fastest. Well, I've got to go prepare for that. So I have to be looking ahead that far. But at the same time, we need to have a dynamic vision or dynamic approach to our vision. So that's more like, in this case, a 3-month or a 90-day kind of revisit. Okay, I'm looking out 3 years, but I want to reevaluate every 90 days. Has my idea or my vision for 3 years down the road changed? Because I've discovered something, right? You say, hey, I want to go down this way. You go down 2 blocks, and all of a sudden you look down the street, and it's like, oh, there's a better path, right? So we need to be dynamic. We need to be versatile when we're looking at our vision. But that doesn't mean that we're not still looking at 3 years. It just means we're adjusting. We're finding new ways. This is true if I'm a pilot. When you fly an airplane, you put a flight plan in. I need to go there. It is 400 miles away. This is my direction. But every minute I'm reevaluating. Am I on track? Have the conditions changed? Is there a better destination to go to? Is the weather changed over here and I need to divert? Right, so we have simultaneously this long-term outlook and also this changing, right? The environment around me has changed. I've changed. I've seen something new. I've discovered something new, okay? But it's important to have both of those time horizons as we look in our vision. All right, and I'll tell you real quick before we get into this. In vision, what we do in Vital is we do create a 3-year strategic vision that is very explicit, outcomes oriented. I've got a vision for what my organization is supposed to be about, especially in terms of objective. This is what I want to happen, not just what I want to do, but here's what I want to have happen, an objective. And if this is what I want to be happening at a certain scale, so many people, so many products, so many widgets, what does my organization need to look like in 3 years to be doing that outcome, right? Okay, I need an office. I need a website. I need some tools in the back office. I need to hire an accountant. I need a marketing department, right? So looking at that far tells you what you need to start doing today, all right? So that's the importance of that kind of strategic plan, all right? And then, so let's look at identity. So why is identity important? I'm Mr. Identity, by the way. This is like a big passion for me. Who are you and why are you here, right? This is, again, for both us and our organization. It is important, not just important, but essential to understand our identity for a number. And this isn't just who have I been, but this is more about who do I want to be? Who's the real me or who's the real organization? Because that can then drive you from the inside out. If we don't have our identity driving us from the inside out in our company or in ourselves, we are going to be prone to be identified with whatever's on the outside in. It's like the difference between being an inner tube out in the ocean or being a sailboat, or a boat like this out in the ocean. Same environment, but one knows exactly where they're going, right? And they can change their rudder, they can change everything and go in a different direction. The other one just goes with the environment. So if we don't have, there's so many forces involved in a startup and in our own lives. If we don't have a very clear and articulated identity from the inside out, then we are going to be prone to be just taken along by the environment, by those environmental forces. All right. So in a company, that is often described by our business model as well as our identity statement. So here's our mission, here's our core values. Those are really important. Those then get into a practical state into our business model. Here's the market we're going after. Here's the value proposition that we're bringing to them. Here's how we reach them. Here's how we relate to them. Here's all the back office things that we need to do to make this value proposition. That needs to be defined, right? Because otherwise those just kind of go with the wind back and forth, right? For the founder is often so wrapped up into the organization that they also need their personal purpose very clearly identified, because they often end up merging. But if we don't remember that I'm not just a business starter or an entrepreneur, but I'm also a father, and I'm also have roles to play in the community. If I don't remember that business is all consuming, it's going to take over all these other parts of who we are. That's why we see so often that entrepreneurs burn out, because they've poured so much into starting this thing, they forget their marriage, they forget their family, they forget all these other things, right? So it's important that we remember the founder or those initial partners, that they remember all about who they are. All right, and this gives you your true north. And another reason for this is there's lots of research that says that our identity, our purpose, is the most powerful motivator that we have. And if you've ever been around a startup, it requires a ton of fuel to go into this thing. So we have to have a lot of motivation to go forward with that, okay? It's also one of the most powerful things if you're gonna try to make new habits, and this is just in the personal standpoint, if I'm not an entrepreneur, but I am a small business owner of my life, right? A lot of that means I need to change new habits. And understanding who you really want to be, who you really are, is one of the most powerful ways to change your habits, right? Not just like trying harder. I think identity is so powerful, it gets us past just the trying harder approach to either doing business or to being the person that we want to be. Okay, so this is like saying, I'm early all the time, right? If I'm doing new habits, this is like saying I'm actually a very understanding person. I'm a great listener, right? That's changing your identity that helps form the new habits, both for you or as a company, being very clear that I'm changing somebody's life, which leads us into this next, the T is for transformational. All right, so transformational means that your organization or your company or yourself has a greater purpose than the shallow dimensions or areas of just making money. Money is important, right? If we don't have money, we're living on the streets. If we don't have money in a business, we're not open, right? We can't keep the doors open. We have to have these things. But we know that the businesses that are just about money are going to be very shallow. They're going to be very transactional. It's going to be hard to give your all. It's going to be hard for people to get behind it just because there's money there. There's not a lot of trust. There's just transaction. And so having a greater purpose for your startup, for your business, even if it is a commodity type of business, right? So let's say it's construction or it's just making widgets. Making the connection between when I make these widgets, this is what one of our clients, pest control. Okay, I kill bugs. Like, man, how transformational is that? Well, how does a family feel? I know how my wife feels when we've got bugs in the house, right? And so you can go from being, I'm just a bug killer, to being, I help families feel safe. I might even be saving marriages, right? You can have this transformational outcome from the most menial work, right? And that's now think of the difference, right? I walk into the door, I'm here to kill the bugs, right? To I'm going to make a difference in this family. They're going to feel safe. You know, the marriage is going to be better. I'm creating a better environment for this family, right? Totally different approach to walking into that place, right? Why else would I be doing this unless there was a greater purpose for doing it, right? So this is an important question to answer. It also, when there's a greater purpose behind a business, it makes that business model more sustainable. It means that more people want to get around it. It means that more people are motivated to get behind this business. Because if you're starting something up, do you need high performers or do you need average people? Right? Never have I been around a startup that says, okay, let's go find me some average people, some average, maybe even some under average performers. We're going to be great. Right? It's usually like, oh man, we need some rock stars. We need some high performers. We don't just need smart people, but we need smart people that are going to give their all. They're not going to come give their all unless there's something to believe in, right? And that's the greater purpose behind the business, right? It's inspirational. So accountability is the second to last one. And so this is that we're better together. It's our password around here. We are better together, right? That's if you come in and you see the video, now you know the password to our Wi-Fi. We are better together because there's diversity of wisdom, right? There's diversity of wisdom from people around, different perspectives, different experiences. Doesn't mean that they're smarter than you. That there's this diversity of wisdom that's important, right? Now, there's also the idea of commitment. When I have shared with somebody, here's my goals, research shows us that, well, goal setting in general is good, but when we share our goals with a group of accountability, now we're multiples more likely to accomplish those goals. Because now it's not just, hey, I've set a goal, but now I've got all the social things involved if I don't follow through with my goal. Now I've got the embarrassment and all of those things, right? So there's that. And then there's also blind spots, right? We're the eyes on our head, right? They're right here, right? I cannot see my rear end, right? I need my wife to let me know she fixed my shirt before I walked out today. He's like, yeah, it's not tucked in right here. It's like, wow, how would I know that? Right? So that's just a simple idea. We need people all around us because we get not just only our eyes on the front of our head, but we get our head down in the noise, in the busyness of getting a company going. So we need others around us to say, hey, don't forget this. Hey, watch out. This is about to smack you in the rear end, right? So we need all of this to be together. Don't ever try to start something up just on your own. Find some people around you. And finally, launch. Launch is about clearing the tower. The Vital Connect specifically is not just about maintaining a small business, but it is especially, you don't necessarily need a bunch of people around you, just maintain something small and to be average, right? And that's fine if that's where you want to be. But if clearing the tower, I've got this little graphic here. This is a Saturn V, right? This is what went to the moon, okay? So pretty impressive thing. Do you know where the payload was? Yeah, little thing right there. That little thing right there. Had 3 people in it. I had a little rover in there maybe. All right. And if you ever go to Houston, you got to go to Houston to the Johnson Space Center and see this thing. It's on its end. You can walk right up to this thing. All the rest of this is nothing but fuel. Nothing but fuel. So it's kind of like giving birth, right? You get this little baby that comes out, but there's all of this fuel and energy and effort goes into making this little thing, right? Come on out. And that's what starting up a company is like, right? So know that when you're clearing the towers, it's like giving birth. You do have to be all in. It's not just like, oh, that just kind of happened. So clearing the tower, that can also be when you're just starting a new S-curve. Let's say this is a 40-year business and you need to get into the next place. It's the same thing as launching. I've got to reinvent my company. I've got to go to the next plateau or else I'm going to die. Or for scaling. Hey, I've got this cool idea. It's been a great idea, but now I got to actually get it sold for scaling. All right, so that's really quick about Vital. Vision, identity, transformational, accountability, and launch. And if you get around a small business, somebody's in a small business or launching something, starting up a business, we've got a cohort that we're starting in September. We're planning on getting this started in September with a new cohort, and we'll go through all these tools, and we'll create a accountability group, a peer mentoring group, along with some coaching that helps get that small business past the tower, right? So thanks for listening, right?